So the first time I met Srila Gurudeva was in 1977 in Vrindavan with Srila Prabhupada. I had arrived on October 8th in Vrindavan, which was the day that Srila Gurudeva came and had that famous conversation with Srila Prabhupada in the evening, which has been recorded in Hindi and then translated into English by, it's been translated into English by a combination of Srila Prabhupada's disciples and Srila Gurudeva's disciples. And that night at that conversation I wasn't present. But I watched him when he came to the room. Srila Prabhupada had sent his car to pick him up. And I had been told that he was coming. I was standing at the door, Srila Prabhupada's door, and I saw the car drop him off at the gate. And then he entered through the gate and walked to the door and came in. I offered my obeisances. But I was watching him walk, and there were many things that I noticed about him. First of all, he was very elegant. He had a kind of elegant way about him, different from my Prabhupada, who was more regal, like a king. But Gurudev was more elegant, fluid. He had a little bit different demeanor, but it was a very special demeanor. And when he walked, he nearly floated. He was seen to just very gracefully, because he was graceful by nature, he very gracefully moved across the ground without bobbing up and down or anything. He just seemed to glide. And so I was noticing, I said, oh, my guru also, he glides like that. He also moves in this way. And I also noticed that he was very bright, very effulgent. So I thought, maybe he's a pure devotee. He's effulgent, and elegant, and graceful, and seems like a very special devotee. So I wasn't there at the conversation that night, but a day or two later, Srila Prabhupada was lying on the bed, and while he was lying there, he was in a certain pose. He was very deep in sleep. And Srila Narayana Maharaj had come into the room, and I wanted to meet him. Now at the time I was doing Chaturmas. So I had a Barbarossa, red beard, and I was chanting about 32 to 48 rounds a day, and I was eating only once a day the havish, the boiled rice and dal. So when he came in the room to see Prabhupada, I went up and offered my obeisances to him. And then I went back in my place at the foot of the bed, and then he came up to me and I said, you're Narayana Maharaj? And he said, yes. He said, and you? I said, my name is Bhagavat Das. So then he went like this. Kya? Why? Kis liye? Why do you have this? So I said, oh, I'm doing Chaturmas, and I'm eating once a day havish and chanting all these rounds. And he smiled, because everybody else was shaved. So he said, oh, someone is following the Gaudiya Mat very seriously. So he liked it. He liked it very much. So then he took his hand and he grabbed me by the elbow like this. He said, come, I want to show you something special. So he brought me over to the side of the bed where Prabhupada was, lying there. And Prabhupada had his hands above his head like this, with this mudra. And he had his neck arched like this, and his back arched. And then his 2 feet were like this. So he was showing me this. He said, see your Guru Maharaj's hands? This is special mudra, he said. And see his neck and back, how they're arched and swaying. And see how the 2 feet are on their tippy toes like this. He said, this is called the dancing pose. He said, now your Guru Maharaj is dancing with Radha and Krishna. So I looked at him and I was like, oh my God. He knows this? I was like so amazed, So then he sang Sri Rupa Manjari Pada for Prabhupada, and there were some young brahmacharis there. They had these very high tenor voices, and Gurudev's more of a middle voice, almost a baritone. So he sung very sweetly, And we were all crying. Everybody in the room was in tears to hear this beautiful rendition of Sri Rupa Manjari Pada for Prabhupada. So then, after this, he left. And about an hour or two later, Srila Prabhupada woke up in the room. So when he woke up in the room, they asked him if he would drink some water, and he said, no, I don't want to drink any water. So then they said, but Prabhupada, you've passed, they had a container. They said, you passed this much urine and you only drank this much water. So you're dehydrating. If you don't drink water, you'll dehydrate and you'll die. Prabhupada said, I know. So then we were all worried, So does that mean you want to leave? Is that what you're telling us, that you're going to leave us? So then Srila Prabhupada said, call Tamal Krishna in here. So then Tamal Krishna came in the room, and Srila Prabhupada said, I have just been talking with Krishna. And I went, wow. Narayana Maharaj told me that he was dancing with Radha and Krishna, and now Prabhupada says he was talking with Krishna. Therefore, Narayana Maharaj must be a pure devotee. In my mind, I was thinking, there, he must be a pure devotee. He knew. So this just confirmed to me what his position was, So then, later on the last day, when Prabhupada was leaving, I was at the head of the bed massaging Prabhupada's head. And Prabhupada was exhibiting all these ecstasies. Srila Prabhupada was rolling back and forth on the bed with his hands in the air like this. And then he was roaring. And then he was belching. And then he was trembling. And then his hairs, I was right there, his hairs were standing on end and tears were coming out of his eyes. And then he was stunned. And like this, he was exhibiting all these sattvic bhavs. So then someone said, Narayana Maharaj has come. So I looked up, He came in the door, he walked in, he looked at Prabhupada, and then he walked behind me, and then he kneeled down next to the bed. So I'm right here. I'm massaging Prabhupada's head. Srila Gurudev's head is right here. It's, we're just, I'm like 1 or 2 feet away from the action. I'm watching the whole thing right up close. And then Srila Gurudev leans in and he puts his mouth to Prabhupada's ear and he whispers something. I don't know what he whispered, what he said, but then Prabhupada stopped. No more ecstasies. So I was, when I was looking at Prabhupada doing the ecstasy, I was thinking, wow, this is like right out of Nectar of Devotion. I read all about this in Nectar of Devotion. Now Prabhupada is doing these ecstasies right here. I'm seeing it now. And then when to Prabhupada and Prabhupada stopped, I went, oh my God, this is like Swarup Damodar whispering the mantra in the ear of Mahaprabhu, and then Mahaprabhu stops the ecstasies. I said, I'm watching Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's like such an amazing thing to witness this, to be present with 2 great Mahabhagavats, and experiencing this powerful, powerful, ecstatic scene. And then Prabhupada raised his hand like this and put it over Srila Narayana Maharaj's head. And then he brought it down again. So it was the last conscious act that he performed before he departed, was to put a blessing upon the head of Srila Narayana Maharaj. Just the day before that, he had asked Srila Narayana Maharaj to please take care of his disciples. And on October 8th, he had asked that you please preach together. We should preach together. So please preach together and go to the West. And he was talking about, and he said, my disciples have not developed enough. I need someone to develop them. Please help them. So, Prabhupada had said all these things to Srila Gurudev, and now he raised his hand and put it over Srila Narayana Maharaj's head, and he offered his blessing to Srila Narayana Maharaj, which now later, Srila Narayana Maharaj confirmed when we were in Badger, Madhav Maharaj gave this class, and he said that once him and Gurudev were alone in Govardhan, and Srila Gurudev asked Madhav Maharaj, do you know why I've been able to preach all over the world? He said, by the blessings of Radha Vinod Bihari. And Gurudev said, no. And he said, by the blessings of your Guru Padapadma, Srila Bhaktivedanta Keshav Maharaj? No. Then Madhav Maharaj said, okay, I don't know why you were able to preach all over the world. He said, because I served Srila Swami Maharaj. And I followed his order to take care of his disciples and preach in the West. So because of that, he has blessed me. And by his blessing, I have been able to preach all over the world.
When I was in this temple of Tripura Maharaj, and I was cleaning, etc., and I found a cassette with no label or anything, and there was this Gurudev's kirtan. And it was so, I was so overwhelmed by this kirtan. I thought, whoever this is, I have to meet him. I have to meet him. And the feeling inside was, I'm so unfortunate, I missed Srila Prabhupada. I never met him, never took any station from him. I never met Srila Maharaj. And whoever this is, I have to meet him. That was, and then I loved this kirtan so much. It so much touched my heart and moved me and affected me that I wanted to hear it 24/7. So I got one of those ghetto boxes, that you have the continuous play. So that was 24/7. I would listen to Gurudev. And then, one by one, his books came. Do you know? Just of my desire to meet with him, he arranged. Really, I feel like this, that he arranged it. Because then there were no books yet, but the first book was Braj Mandal Parikrama, the hardback maroon cover by Jagannath. Then, one by one, like Prem Vilas, remember Prem Vilas, Prabhu? He had manuscripts that weren't published yet. And I read those and I thought, this is it. I have, you know, it's my Gurudev, I have to meet him. You know, he's the one. So he heard this cassette, no one knew who it was, this cassette. And he heard it, he said, oh, that's Srila Maharaj. And I said, oh, okay. So, and he, at that time, Sripad Maharaj liked me and he wanted to initiate me, and I was holding off. And so Tita Prabhu said, no, you should not go for anyone less than Uttam Bhagavat, you know? So you should meet Srila Maharaj. So our desire to meet, it just happened that we had no money at that time. My mother sent $5,000 because she had palpitations of the heart and some kind of heart trouble, and she said, I can leave any time, you have to come. I said, but we have no money, and we have, you know, 2 kids and a baby, husband, 5 of us. So she sent $5,000 for our ticket. We went to Malaysia, put the 2 older children, that's Madhavi and Jayashri, there for schooling, because she didn't want us to take them anywhere. She said, no school? No, they had to be school. And then we went to India, to Mathura, Vrindavan. And so what happened was, when we came to Mathura Mat, Gurudev was giving darshan on the roof, outside Prema Prabhu's old room, just on the roof there, sitting on a chair. He takes the sun and reads. But then devotees come, so there's a darshan. And that time there were just a few people. Anyway, I introduced myself and Janava, and he said, oh, Janava, that Janava. He went like this. You know, that's how Gurudev talked. So we thought, oh, okay. Then I said, Gurudev, there's some presents for you from Mother Yashoda. I said, Mother Yashoda? You know, that Mother Yashoda? I said, well, no, she's from Berkeley, and she had heard from me about you and your katha on Tulsi Devi, and she loves Tulsi, so she wanted to send this present for you. You know, like that, just how it was very casual. And then there were like 5 devotees in that darshan, very, very small. And one devotee from ISKCON, he asked Gurudev, what do you do if your Gurudev falls down? And Gurudev said, then you should take shelter of Swami Maharaj, and until such time that someone comes that you have faith in, then you may take initiation there. That's what he said. So then I piped out and said, oh, but I have no faith in any of them. I only have faith in you. That's it, just came out. That's my thing with Gurudev. Things just come out impulsively, spontaneously, you know, from who knows where, but it just comes out from the heart. So he said, I said, I have no faith in them, but I have faith in you. And I guess he took note of that, because at the end of the darshan, he said, you should come to me at 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow in my room. And, you know, the visiting hours outside his room said, I think 10 to 12 or 11 to 12, you know. I thought, so what came out of me was, oh, shall I bring something? And he said, yes, you should bring your heart on a golden plate, and I will offer it to Srimati Radhika. And I went mad. I thought, oh, what, my heart on a golden plate is so dirty, and where I'll find a golden plate, you know, my mind's just completely. And I'm thinking, oh. Anyway, so we arrived the next morning, and he gave Harinam and Diksha. It was just me, Tithapa Prabhu, and Janava in his room with Tulsi next to him. And it was very, very amazing. I
was initiated by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami in 1974, and in the beginning of the 80s I encountered Sridhar Maharaj also. He helped me to understand that the Guru is not encapsulated in just one body. But afterwards there was a long period of my life where I left the association of devotees, and in 1996, for the centennial of Srila Prabhupada, I came back to a temple and I inquired from one of my godbrothers about Sridhar Maharaj. I didn't know he had departed from this world. So he said, oh, he has left. And there's still a few disciples of him, but they are scattered here and there. But there's a bigger problem now, and it's Narayana Maharaj. So I was attracted to what Narayana Maharaj was all about, because Sridhar Swami's books really had helped me a lot. And that same year I found a copy of the Venu Gita. So I was reading this, and I was told that Narayana Maharaj was dealing with Radha Krishna conjugal affair, and that was too risky, so I was a little afraid of reading that book. But by reading this book, it was very sweet and very poetic, and so I became attracted by what he was saying. But I only met Srila Narayana Maharaj many years later, a few years later, and at first I asked a few questions and he was like answering in a joking way, and there was always many people around, and I wanted to have like more private conversation with him. So I asked his servant, and he told me to come when he was having his massage. So I came in a room, and Srila Narayana Maharaj, he was in his gamsha, naked, just a gamsha, and they were about to give the massage, and he looked at me and he said, "Don't say anything, don't speak a word." So I just sat and I waited until it was finished. Then he sat in front of me. We were both facing each other. There was only the servants left in the rooms, and they were doing different things. So I asked him the question that was bothering me. I said, if can the relationship between the Guru and the disciple be broken? And Srila Narayana Maharaj, he answered, he said, yes, if the Guru is not qualified and he doesn't have this high realization, then of course the relationship will be broken. And he said also, if the disciple is not qualified, if he's not obeying the Guru, then relationship can be broken. So then I said, I broke almost all the principles that I was supposed to follow. So what does that mean? And Narayana Maharaj, he was not interested in what I have done. Many people are interested in that, but he was not interested. He said, you're a Swamiji disciple. Where is your Brahmin thread? Somehow, I never wore it around my neck because it got entangled in the Tulsi beads, but he could see that I didn't have the Brahmin thread. So I told him I took it out. And he said, you have no faith in your Guru? I said, no, I have no faith in myself. So then I heard Madhav Maharaj in the bathroom, he said, Guru avagya, meaning it is an offense to the Guru to disobey what he gave you. And Narayana Maharaj, he said, I will give you back. So then I asked him, that means you'll become my Diksha Guru? He said, no, this is like confirming the what you received. You will meditate on your Gurudev and on me when you're chanting the Guru mantra. And he said, there's a fire sacrifice in a few days. I want you to shave your head and attend to that sacrifice. And then he stood up and he said, I am also Bhaktivedanta. There's no one else called Bhaktivedanta. There's no difference between me and Bhaktivedanta Swami. And as he was saying this, I saw Srila Prabhupada in front of me, like if he was ordering me to again accept this Diksha mantra. And then Gurudev said, I don't think your Gurudev rejected you. You are sincere, but you are weak. So then I shaved my head after 20 years of not shaving. And when I came in the room, the day after or 2 days after, then Narayana Maharaj, he had this big smile like this, and he said, "Oh, you look so beautiful. I am so happy." Then he gave me back all this mantra and everything, and at night, then I had the fire sacrifice, and much more elaborated than what they did in ISKCON, of course. Then at night, when they announced all the names, he said, "Oh, this is, my name came out," and he said, "This is Swamiji disciple. Anyone who has taken away his Brahmin thread, and then I can give back." And then every day after class, he will come up to me, and he will say, looking at my shaved head, and he said, "Don't worry, it will grow back."
1 year in Badger, and it was just at the time of the Badger Festival. I think it was 2005. And for some crazy reason, I had signed myself up to maybe 3 or 4 drama plays. Just couldn't say no to anyone. So I had lots of different parts to play, and everyone was really stressed. All the directors of the plays were really stressed out with me because I couldn't attend all the practices because they were all happening at the same time. So I had to prioritize whoever's play was coming next. And then there was one drama play, which was the last one, and I remember it was Madonna, and she was getting really stressed with me because she's like, "Radhika, you don't know your lines." And I was like, "I will, don't worry, I will." And I was still practicing for the play for the night before, and it came to the day of her play, and I still didn't know my lines. And I had written them out on cards just as prompts, and I had them with me through the day, and by the evening we were getting ready, and I was still looking at these cards. And she's like, "You're still going to be using the cards, aren't you, tonight?" And I was like, "No, Madame, I won't." And then before the play began, I remember feeling like I really need my cards. And as the play began, I came on, and I was playing the part of Uddhavji, and there was Krishna in the play too, and I had a kind of a static role in one place, so I thought I'll just keep my cards here, and of course, lo and behold, someone had moved them, they weren't there. So I looked over to Gurudev and I was like, "Please help me." And then I don't know what happened, but as soon as my mouth opened, words just came out. I don't even remember what the words were that were coming out. They were just coming. And I looked over at Gurudev at one point, and he was just staring at me intently. And the words were coming and coming, and the play, you know, finished, and I didn't mess it up, but I still knew that I didn't know my lines. And that moment I knew that this was a teaching for me on many levels, but on one, the biggest teaching of it was, you are in control of this. Everything that happens, that was my personal experience, but I realized that for everyone there who offered any kind of seva, anywhere, in any form, Gurudev was completely the director of that seva. No question about it. That he could take out your own ego and intelligence and jump in there if you let him. And so for me, that was one of the biggest teachings that he's given, that I can never ever take any credit for anything that I offer myself into in seva. There's still that will that you have to offer yourself, but from that point onwards, anything that comes from it, you know how the Vaishnavas say, if we've made anything, said anything wrong, please forgive me. That's my ego jumping in and thinking it can take over. And if anything has been said right or has resonated with you, if you felt something, then that is Gurudev's. It's exactly that. So that was one big teaching that he gave me. And actually in Badger, he gave me so many huge teachings that I'm still ruminating on.